Hello and welcome to the Vermilion Sports Podcast. I am your host, Louis Prejean, sports editor for the Vermilion, the student newspaper at the University of Louisiana. I am here with sports writer Charles Long.
Stressing out March Madness.
Just a little bit. You have 5 brackets going on at this table, and 2 are done. 3, you're banging your head against the wall.
3 are done.
3 are done now.
3 are done.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's
I made my
to be
decision for the
determined.
SEC.
Oh, wow.
And they will premiere on the Vermilion Sports Show.
Wow.
Thursday
Good promo.
midnight.
Good promo.
88.7 FM.
I like it. Good promo. Okay.
Subtle.
Did you finish your Sunbelt one?
No, actually. This is one of the last 2 I'm still trying to decide on.
We're going to be talking about the Sunbelt Conference Tournament. In this episode, we're here with sports writer Lachelle Smith.
What's up?
Not much. I don't know. Just kind of... Now I'm thinking about Anderson .Paak's teeth, and that's about all I'm thinking. You asked me what's up, and I just have to be honest.
I'm glad you're honest. Honesty is key.
Yeah, honesty is key. CJ, we're here with sports/news writer CJ Williams for the Vermilion.
What's up, man?
Not much. You previewed your food take a little bit. I don't know if you want to tease it here, and then we'll get back to it later.
It's a discussion.
It's a discussion, so you're getting everyone involved.
Yeah.
Setting the table, if you will, for the food talk.
Yeah.
I like it. Are you ready for the conference tournament?
I am. I'm excited to see the Cajuns. I'm excited.
Are you ready for March Madness?
Am I ready for March Madness? You're never ready for March Madness.
No, it just kind of hits you.
You think you are, and then the madness ensues.
Thank you. Well, let's talk about something that ensued last night with the women's basketball team. Their season came to an end in the first round of the Sunbelt Conference Tournament. They lost 73-61 to South Alabama in the first round of the Sunbelt Conference Tournament. The Ragin Cajuns entered the second half down by 27. The Cajuns able to outscore the Jaguars 47-32 in the second half, but it wasn't enough to extend their season. Let's go to the record breakdown. 7-23 overall, 5-13 in conference, 5-9 at home, 2-12 on the road. They ended the season on a 6-game losing streak. And in that first round game against South Alabama, they trailed 41-14 at halftime. Now, I tell you this, CJ, not ideal for a first half. They scored 5 points in the second quarter. I mean, that we knew this was a problem going into the tournament and all season was the offense. And the announcers were like, shots just aren't falling. But this seems like an exaggeration of like their season. It's like their offense just doesn't work. It's just weird. And the face you're making right now is, I don't know what to say besides they scored 5 points in the second quarter.
It's one of their worst performances of the season, probably at the wrong time. That's basically how you can describe it. The pressure of the tournament probably got to them, but they weren't ready to play for whatever reason. They weren't ready to come out and perform at their highest level, and they could have shown much better than they did.
Yeah, but things got better in the second half, I think. Outscoring them by 15, the press started to work. It's hard to determine when you go to the full court press. You usually go towards the end of the game, but it really was working. And they cut at one point, the Jaguars had a 31-point lead in the game, but they cut it all the way down to, I think, 11 towards the end of the game with about 2.5 minutes left. So it started to work. They started to get things going, but it's a case of you're running out of time too little too late for them. I mean, it's just hard to. It was a hard first half to watch, but the second half was a little encouraging, especially since they're a young team.
How much of that is the Cajuns, or how much of that is the other team letting their foot off the gas because they have such a big lead? That's what I always try to caution myself when I say, they're playing better in the second half. Be careful with that. I think, you give them credit for getting back into the game, but you do have to keep in mind that when you get down that big like that, you're going to be the more aggressive team. You're going to be the team that puts the pedal to the metal a little bit more because you're the team that has the most urgency because you're down by so much. So you get yourself in that situation. It's nice to see them fight their way out of it. I just wish that they had played a 40-minute game.
Yeah, a 40-minute game. We're thinking 48 over here.
Yeah. Almost said 48.
But no, it's okay.
Yeah, they're not, they don't quit. They have resilience, and that's a positive aspect.
And it's a positive aspect. I mean, especially no seniors on the team or anything. This is something they could probably take forward into next season. Ty Doucette led the team with 15 points, 7 and 10 from the field. Andrea Cornier with 10 points. Brandon Williams and Skylar Goodwin were 2 of 7 from the field. Jamiah Mathis of 9 from the field. The Ragin Cajuns women's basketball season recap. It's pretty easy. It's a pretty easy season to define when you look at it. Not enough offense, too much. You had to rely too much on the defense. Injuries to Skylar Goodwin and Ty Doucette, and no senior leadership on the team. That can result into 7 wins out of 30. Try.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of covered it all. But as you said, there's no senior leadership. They're a young team. A lot of these players are going to be back. So maybe with time, they'll get a little bit better and be ready for next season.
And Lachelle, how important is senior leadership on a team?
I mean, it's extremely important. That's experience. They understand situations better. They've been there, done that. They understand what to do, what plays to make, how to control tempo, momentum. When you're young, you're kind of just thrown out there. They're still trying to get a feel for it. So for this season, it definitely was just a learning season for them in a horrific way. But, I mean, experience is the best teacher.
And when you look at Broadhead's overall record, I mean, this is his first losing season, I believe, since he's taken over in 7 seasons. So, it's just a case of that the roster and no senior leadership, and Broadhead's still a good coach. I mean, this team's going to return, and they're going to have seniors. And Ty Doucette is only a sophomore, so she's going to get better. And she was the best player on your team. So, I mean, I'm hopeful for next season. I'm sure, as we all are. But let's get into something that's ongoing with the Ragin Cajuns men's basketball team. They will play on Thursday in the Sun Belt Conference Tournament. They will play the winner of Arkansas State and South Alabama, which is happening tonight. But before we do that, we got to talk about their final 2 games on the road, where they beat Arkansas State 90-87 in overtime, and they had a Cedric Russell explosion against Little Rock on the road before that. Cedric Russell, 34 points.
They needed every single one of them. It was an incredibly tight game. It was a big comeback. The Cajuns had like a 10-point lead in the first half that they blew. Jakeenan Gant fouled out in like 13 minutes of playing time. I think he had almost as many fouls as he had shot attempts. So if you were to tell me going into the game that your best player would have that kind of a stat, I think, okay, well, they're going to drop this game. But Cedric was fantastic. We predicted on the show last week how many threes the team would have, and we were right on the money with 12. They were very, very hot from deep, and that is, I think, the big reason why they won the game. They were shooting very well the entire night. So to come back without your best player was very impressive. Little Rock was playing with their season on the line. With the loss, they are eliminated from the conference tournament. So they were playing hard the entire time. The Cajuns they wanted it more. So
yeah, and I mean, just Cedric Russell going off for that career high 34 points. Lachelle, do you view Cedric Russell as maybe the third guy on this team? So you have Gant, Stroman, and then is it Cedric, or do you view maybe Justin Miller or somebody else in the third spot?
In the beginning of the season, I view Justin Miller as the third guy. For this bottom half of this season, actually really for the past 4 to 5 games, I'm viewing Cedric Russell as the third guy now. Because they needed another scorer, somebody who's really consistent. Because when he's hot, he's hot. Like, he's going to make those shots when they're falling. With Justin Miller, it's a little different. He's a little bit more inconsistent. Like most people say, he fouls really quickly. He gets tired really quickly. So, but when he's good too. But in terms of the number 3 person to really get your shots going, I definitely give that to Cedric Russell for sure. He has a spark to him.
Yeah, and I guess it's hard to maybe differentiate them two, or say Justin Miller's the third guy, Cedric Russell's the third guy, because they play 2 different positions.
Right.
They do 2 different things for your team. But, in terms of having that third guy that is going to get you 15 points, Cedric Russell is going to be that guy.
Right.
And then Miller, I mean, Coach Marlin talked about how important his defensive rebounding is to this team. So, and as of late, Justin Miller's been great with rebounding the ball. So Justin Miller rebounding the ball, what does that do for this team?
Extra possessions, securing defensive rebounds, finishes defensive possessions, and then offensively, obviously, extra possessions. It's helpful because obviously you don't have Gant having as much of a load on the glass. So that's what I'd say about that. I think Justin's a glue guy, and he does a lot of the dirty work.
Yeah, especially lately. It seems like it's emphasized.
At the start of the season, Coach Marlin said that losing Bryce Washington was a big deal because they lost a player that put rebounding first. I think he was really trying to tell his team to step up in the rebounding category, and Justin Miller has been one of those players that has. And he's been very good in recent weeks.
Yeah, and CJ, what did you see in that Arkansas State game, that overtime game for the men's basketball team?
Well, anytime you have an overtime game, you have fatigue. That's the first thing. So they managed that very well, and it was obviously a very close game. So I think when you have that type of game heading into the tournament, and you come out on top, and you come out on top in dramatic fashion, I think it gives you momentum. That's the main thing I take from it. I think they finished the season strong. You don't want to finish the season with a loss, especially with the seeding that they have, having to play the teams that they have to play. And with the challenge that they have, they could have had an easier seeding. But coming out of the season with 2 strong wins and an overtime win, and having that kind of momentum headed into the tournament, I'm very excited about that.
Do you want to avoid Arkansas State in their first matchup after losing the first game and then barely squeaking by the second one?
I don't. I guess the right answer would be yes,
would
but
you prefer to play South Alabama?
I guess no. I mean, I don't prefer to play anybody. I guess the right answer would be yes, if you just look at the logic of it. But I mean, if you're not the best team in the tournament, you're gonna get eliminated.
Right.
So whoever you play, you got to beat them.
Yeah, Michelle, how confident? Just had an overtime game, 5-point win against Little Rock. How confident are you, especially going into a conference tournament, about the Cajuns in close games and closing out games and getting wins?
I'm pretty confident in them now. I'm about 85%. Used to be about 70. I mean, it's just I think they're finding ways to win now. Like, their momentum came at the right moment for them because for one, they weren't a good road team. Then you just come off 2 big wins, and you can translate that into this tournament now, which is in New Orleans, close home for you. It's a different thing for them. So definitely seeing them show that perseverance in these last few games to really, especially that last game, because that Ty Cotterfield, look.
He's one of the best players.
He's interesting, and he was about to knock them out single-handedly.
He got second team all Sunbelt, I think.
He
was fantastic.
And they showed resilience with that to still come back and do what they need to do. So I'm pretty confident. Honestly, the Sunbelt, in my opinion, is really anyone's game.
Awesome.
It's whoever is having the most consistent, best game at that time. Because I mean, there's no definite person that's just like, yeah, we're gonna knock everyone out. I don't see that.
Well, last season everyone thought it was going to be Louisiana, and they fell short. I don't think a 1 seed has won in the Sun Belt in the past 5 years. Like it's always been just a total mess.
I think them being where their rank gives them a little bit more fire, though. I think it takes the pressure off of you when you're not number 1. When you're number 1, it's kind of like, okay,
the target's on your back.
Right, we're expected to do this, do that, and people are going to come for us. But when you kind of got to hustle a little more, grind a little bit more, I think it gets you kind of like, okay, we got to work a little hard, get you in that flow.
And that team needs this, right?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
Especially with them being down, with Malik Marquetti, Stroman possibly being a little, hampered by the injury.
Right.
So maybe this is all a little extra motivation. And then being the 5th seed instead of the top 4 seed, this is all a little bit of something that could possibly change the course of the tournament, as Charlie just changed something on his Sunbelt.
I've changed it like 4 times. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
It's so, Michelle was just saying, it's unpredictable. Like, there's so many teams that can win this tournament, so many teams that can catch fire and get hot. Any team, in my opinion, from the top 7 seeds, I think will make a run. It's just that great. I think that, the way the playoffs work this year favor the top 2 seeds, but even then, if a team is hot going into playing one of those top 2 teams, who knows? They can knock them off.
I mean, who knows? Let's talk about the regular season right now before we get into Sun Belt Conference Player of the Year, which I think we can have a discussion about. So, Louisiana 19-12 overall, 7-7 away, 10-4 at home, 10-8 in the Sun Belt Conference, and the Sun Belt Conference Player of the Year, Tookie Brown. What do we think about Jakeem Gant not being named Sun Belt Conference Player of the Year? Coach Marlin said he deserved, or before the announcement, he believed Jakeem Gant could have been Sun Belt Conference Player of the Year.
I think Jakeem probably, he was definitely, if he's not number 1, he's top 3 in the conference. Like, I think we've definitely established that. I think that he can when he's on, he's probably the most dominant of those players. It was Tookie and Jakeenan and Cockfield and stuff. DeMarcus Simons from Georgia State. Like there's a bunch of really good players in this conference. I think that Marlon is right in some senses that Jakeenan at points played well enough to win the Player of the Year. Tookie Brown he's been a fantastic player for Georgia Southern for many years now. I feel like this is more of a 10-year award, even though he was fantastic this year. He's been great for them for a long time. So I don't think Jakeenan was necessarily snubbed because, as I said, there are so many great players in the Sun Belt Conference. It's a little disappointing as being a Cajuns fan, but I can definitely see why they would give it to Tookie.
Yeah, you can see it. I mean, 8th in the conference in scoring at 18 points per game. 3rd in field goal percentage, 50.9. 3rd in assists, 4.8. As a guard. Mm-hmm. So that's really good. That's really efficient.
Yeah.
He's being efficient as a point guard. So I kind of want to talk.
Keenan had almost 9 assists as a forward.
9 assists?
Yeah. I think so.
9 rebounds.
It's rebounds?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's rebounds.
It's rebounds.
Yeah.
I almost. Yeah.
You almost went in. Like,
I was about to.
Gann almost had 9 assists.
But
If Gann averaged 9 assists, he would have definitely won it.
So it was 9 rebounds and I think 4 blocks. Or something like that.
Yeah. I think Jakeenan's the best two-way player, if that's what you're asking me. I think he won Defensive Player of the Year again.
Mm-hmm.
So they obviously valued his defense, and I think if they valued his defense that much, they probably should have given it to him because of the numbers he put up on offense. Being up there in the lead for points per game in the conference, and he rebounded really well. So I think that you probably should have given it to him just on merit of him being the best two-way player in the conference. But I'm not too upset about it.
Yeah, and sticking with Gant, you look at Gant's season, then you look at the team overall, their season. How are they different? Is it Gant being a consistent force while the Louisiana team being inconsistent?
Yeah, that was the word I was going to use. Gant's been consistent, but the Ragin Cajuns haven't necessarily had the level of consistency that they would want. They've had tremendous success, but they could have 3 or 4 more wins if they were a little more consistent.
Here's the thing: the Cajuns are the biggest puzzle in the Sun Belt, in my opinion. That's why I'm struggling so much with this bracket right now. They can come in. Well, yeah, they can come in at any night and smoke the number 2 team.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Like they did with UT Arlington, but then they lose to the number 10 team twice at state. It's just that we saw the game against Coastal Carolina live. They were playing so well for the whole first 3 quarters of the game, and then the final quarter they went cold and they let the other team get hot. 25-point lead goes down to 7 in a snap of the finger. So it's as you said, it's inconsistency, and that if they get hot at the right time in this conference, they can make a run. However, you're just not 100% sure if they can do that.
And we could talk about inconsistency, but what do you make of it? All the inconsistency, and what makes them inconsistent?
I think it's just people not stepping up. I don't even think, because it's not a coaching problem. It's just a player problem. I think sometimes when you have a player such as Gant, you will rely only on him solely as a teammate to put those numbers up. You'll expect that. It's kind of like a James Harden effect. Like, everyone around you can kind of take a little bit of a back seat because it's like, okay, he's going to put these numbers up with or without my contribution. So, we'll be fine.
Yeah, but then in the Little Rock game, he had 5 points and they still won with Cedric. And
but that's what I'm saying. That's a good thing. They've showed that improvement now at the bottom of this season, because at the beginning it wasn't like that. It was like, right. And now I think people are like, okay, I can play too. I'm going to step up too, especially Justin Miller. I believe he's actually increased his play defensively in these last few games. So I think that's why I say I definitely believe now they're in a moment of consistency. And besides, they're also one of the highest ranked offensive teams in the Sun Belt too, I think. Or second. So they definitely have it. They just have to keep it. And I think with Cedric Russell now being the third person offensively to get shots consistently and get fire, I think now we'll see more of that in the conference tournament.
That's what's interesting about players feeling they can take a break because that player is going to be great that night. And I think it was good in the Little Rock game for them to realize, hey, we can actually do this, and hey, we don't need to rely on Gant. I'm trying to see. I don't know if that game's like necessarily an outlier from the rest of the season. Do you think that's?
It's definitely an outlier. I mean, in basketball, obviously, your best player is going to have a lot of responsibility, and you'd expect him to score somewhere around his average in every game. So yeah, it's an outlier for him to score 5 and for them to have to carry that much of a load. But no, it shouldn't be an outlier that they contribute and have confidence that they can do it.
So do you think for the Cajuns to make a run to the championship, like get past these tough teams like Texas State and Georgia State, do you think Jacquina needs to average like 25, or do you think he needs, if he just gets...
You need to get 25 from Jacquina, and you need to get a 30 from a combination of Russell, Stroman, Wesley, and you need you need 40. You need 25 from Jacquina again, and you need the other.
We don't talk about Hardy. He's a vital player in their success.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So what's the magic number for the Cajuns defense then? If they hold their first 3 opponents under, I'll say 80.
It's gotta be 80.
Is
gotta
it 80
be.
or is
Gotta
it,
be.
Is it 70?
Ooh, I was thinking 70 initially.
Because they're getting 60
I think it's
from
gonna
all
have to
those
be
guys,
70.
and then they can get some scraps. So you got about 70.
I think it's 70.
Yeah,
I don't know. You've seen what they've done when they've held opponents under 80, and if an
I think they're
opponent
11-2 or something like that.
if the opponent gets over 80, the Cajuns are going to lose.
Right.
So they can't allow 80 or over. It's got to be kept in the 70s.
But here's the thing. I think they win these games if they keep their opponents under 70. Of course they lost again.
Oh, that's obvious.
Well, no, that's the magic number, because they could still lose games if they give up 75 points. You know what I mean? But if they play a team like Texas State, who's got one of the best defenses in the conference, right? If they play a team like Texas State, like they did at Texas State, where they held them to 64, I think, and they lost that game. If they do that again, I think they win it. If they just hit a couple more shots and have a couple better offensive possessions, they win that game against the top team in Texas State.
Yeah, and ideally you would love to keep teams, under 70.
I think that's the magic number.
It's just, how many times have we seen that from this team where you've kept them in those lower numbers? I mean, we see Coastal Carolina, they kept them to 70 there. Texas State, they kept them to 64. And then I'm seeing UT Arlington 76. So I'm saying it's under 80.
Well, they kept UT Arlington like 64, I think. They won that game.
And then, but besides that, I mean, I hear what you're saying.
I think the defense is going to be key for the stretch. If they, as I said, if they keep these teams under 70 in this run, then they'll be looking great. However, I just think that there's going to be a need for players like Cedric Russell and PJ Hardy. And
they have to shoot well.
If they shoot well,
let's just call it what it is. They have to shoot well
from
behind the
tournament. That kind of goes alongside with the Cajuns catching fire in the tournament, in my opinion. If they're hitting shots from the outside, playing good defense, like we've seen them done a couple times, they played great defense against UT Arlington. They played great defense against Georgia State. They played great defense against some of the top teams in the conference, and they won those games.
And I'm glad you mentioned the 3-point shooting, because I was looking at trends and what's happened this season. Earlier today, Louisiana's 12-2 in games where they hit 10 or more threes.
Okay. So
12-2. I mean, obviously they're 7-10 when they hit less than 10 threes. So that's kind of a number that I'm looking at. The success from behind the arc. It hasn't correlated to a good percentage, because it's as long as they hit 10 or more threes, they're likely to win. It's just getting to that 10 number. So I also looked at assists. They're 13-4 when having at least 15 assists. So that's something to look out for. And they're 10-1 when both of those things happen. So they're only lost when both of those things happen. When you have 15 assists and 10 or more threes in a game, they're 10-1, and their lone loss is to Kansas, which they were competitive in that game.
Okay,
so I think maybe those are the two numbers that you have to hit if you really want to be successful in the tournament.
How important does that make Marcus Stroman then?
Extremely important. I also have a stat about Stroman, especially his scoring, because we talked about guys like stepping up. Is Stroman, when scoring 20 or more points, they're 4-1.
How many assists you want to see him average per game with the conference?
He's going to need at least 10 a game.
Am I overconfident and Trajan
He's
Wesley?
capable.
Okay,
He's
so
gonna have to do 10 a game.
You're bringing up Trajan Wesley.
Am I overconfident?
His
No, he's really
defense,
good.
his defense.
He is the defensive leader of the
He
team.
is.
Besides Jakeem and Gant, I mean,
He
he
is.
brings it when he gets into the game.
He's irritating.
Yes.
He gets under players. He's really
Players
like a
don't
Lance.
respect it.
He's a Lance Stevenson in defense.
They
Like,
don't expect it.
because he talks. He's not scared of you. You could block his shot one possession. He's gonna go right back the
at
next,
you,
and
right.
you're like, dang, like he's really not scared. Yeah, he's another outlier in that whole too, like playing that role of coming off the bench and giving them that defense because he's so fast. So you can't really just like run over him. I mean, you could, but not really. But in essence of him keeping up with you and needing to chase people, he definitely can
I feel
fulfill
like if
that
they have
role.
to start Trajan Wesley, they can beat a team.
And well,
I don't know about that one.
If
I'm
Stroman
not-
is limited, and
Yeah.
especially on defense, maybe putting a lineup of Trajan Wesley and Marcus Stroman out there to relieve Stroman of some
The leadership wise, because he's a freshman. I don't think I don't trust him fully with the whole reins of a game in the Sun Belt Conference as a freshman. Right.
As a freshman.
Right, just as a freshman. That's his only, I think, catalyst in being, size wise, but really that's it.
I think the guard play is the strength of the Sun Belt. Like, if you look at some of these teams, they have really good guard play. ULM has good guard play. Georgia Southern has good guard play. Georgia State has good guard play. The Cajuns have good guard play. There's a lot of good guard play in the Sun Belt Conference, and I think that it's going to come down because a lot of times, sometimes in the games that they've lost in conference, they've been outmatched, especially on the defensive side. So if these players like Stroman and Wesley and maybe even Russell can step up on defense and be able to guard some of these solid players for the opposing teams, I think it will go a long way in holding teams to under 70.
And Gant's going to take care of it down low.
Gant's
So you just want to see that kind of defensive play at the top.
We just don't need him to foul. That's
Just don't.
Okay.
No, I'm just being honest.
That little rock game was ridiculous.
And that was ridiculous, but like it kind of but he's been getting in a little bit of foul trouble lately anyway, early in games, not late in games, early in
He
games.
found out with like 13 minutes left to go.
So it's a little alarming because like he is a vital player. He's your rim protector. He's still offensively, again, like the ratio with the shooting the threes and the assists. I mean, when you're knocking down shots, it opens the floor up tremendously. There is nobody in the lane at that time, which gets those assists even to Jakeenan, as we've seen multiple times. When they hit threes, an alley's coming eventually.
Yeah,
like a dunk's
yeah.
coming. So they understand that. But again, he has to make sure he understands his circumstances that, hey, at this point, there is no like, you get two, just stop. Like at that point, you just can't, you could be aggressive, but you got to understand your circumstances.
Right. Did you want to say anything?
Oh, just a little nugget on the point guards and one of the assistant coaches press conference he gave. He mentioned how they do a lot of work with all of the guards running at the one. So, I'm not as worried if they are without Stroman for 1 or 2 rounds. Obviously it limits them, but I don't think the confidence should waver.
I think Stroman needs to play against
Okay.
Texas State.
I mean, that's fair.
I think we could get by South Alabama, maybe Arkansas State without Marcus Stroman. Arkansas State's a little bit more of a question mark because you need that top defender on Cockfeld. He's probably still going to drop 30. I mean, he's just that talented, but you still need your top defender on him. And I think Stroman is your top guard defender, as he's been for most of the season at least. So maybe you get by the first round, especially at home. Home playoff game. I expect the Cajun Dome to be pretty much rocking, right? However, against Texas State, I think you need them, and after that, you definitely need them.
Yeah.
So you go to Georgia State.
I'm not saying they're gonna win, but I'm saying 1 or 2 rounds. I feel like if they play well, they can get it done even without me.
Okay.
All right, so sticking with the defense thing, I have some more trends here that I looked into. So this is a weird and probably doesn't mean anything stat I found. They're 10-1 when recording 5 or more blocks in a game. Their only losses to Georgia Southern. Weird, probably doesn't mean anything.
That just tells me that they're 10-1 when their activity on defense is high.
Yeah,
Recorded 5 blocks against Georgia Southern, but gave up like 100-something points in that game.
exactly. So that's probably like a weird, probably doesn't mean anything stat.
Yeah.
Justin Miller, when grabbing 10 or more rebounds, Louisiana's 8-2.
Okay.
I know Marlon emphasized and highlighted Justin Miller's defensive rebounding as an important factor to their winning. So I wanted to look into that. I was like, okay, so is him grabbing 10 or more rebounds does that translate to wins?
Okay.
I mean, so in those games when he grabs 10 or more rebounds, Louisiana's 8-2. Just something that's interesting. You could tell Justin Miller's activity has been increased in these games. You could just tell from that. I mean, what we kind of touched on it, CJ. What have you seen from Miller over the course of the season?
Like I said, glue guy. He reminds me of like a Draymond or like a I'm just gonna use that analogy because I can't come up with
okay.
But he's Zach Randolph.
Ooh,
like a guy like just he plays below the rim, but his game is above the rim. Like he does everything for your team. He's a glue guy. He can initiate the offense a little bit if you give it to him at the elbow. He's a pretty good passer.
Mm-hmm.
He can rebound. He's just a guy that's very versatile. I like Justin Miller's game, and he's physical too.
Look out for Justin Miller to have a big tournament. Last year, when they lost to Texas Arlington in the semifinal game, Jacqueline Gant was obviously out with an illness. Justin Miller stepped up.
He had like 22 points in the half.
He went nuts in the second half of that game, and he was almost the sole reason they won that game. He was fantastic. He was a go-to player. This year, as you said, he's improved over the season. If the Cajuns make a run to the championship in this tournament, I think Justin Miller needs to be averaging a double-double. Maybe 12-10, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And if he does that, I think they're looking great.
Yeah, I mean, I think getting to that 10 rebound mark is important. I mean, even Marlon has highlighted that as something that's important to the team. So, all right.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I don't want to interject on the script, but like, who's the biggest
There's no script.
Ragin Cajuns bench contributor
In this tournament.
Jarius
Davis.
Davis. That's all bad.
Okay.
Davis had a poor shooting night recently. Was it against Little Rock or Arkansas State? I think he went like 1 of 9.
He's inconsistent too, but when he's on, he's on.
He's like who's the player for the Rockets I'm thinking of that shoots the corner threes all the time?
Eric Gordon?
No, it's
PJ
you're
Tucker?
talking about PJ
Oh.
Tucker.
That's what I'm
The
thinking.
shoe god?
Yeah, that's what I think you need to get out of Jarius Davis. Like someone off the bench that can just hit corner threes when he's called upon. And maybe provide minutes if Jacqueline's in foul trouble or if Justin Miller's in foul trouble. So he could be a nice little bench piece. Yeah.
It's just he fits along with the team narrative of being consistent. So
Yeah, he is.
I think that's one of the things. All right, so Louisiana will play the winner of Arkansas State and South Alabama. Arkansas State's 13-18 heading into tonight's game. We're recording Tuesday afternoon. South Alabama's 15-16. I want to look at both teams. Arkansas State, the Cajuns won the final game 90-87 in overtime. Earlier in the season, the Cajuns lost at home 93-84. So, how did those games go? First game was a loss. Marcus Eaton and Grantham Gillard led with 24 and 20 points. Ty Cockfield with 18 points. I mean, he, as we saw in that overtime game, he went off. It was in the second half. Did he score 31 in the second half of that game? So we see what he's done. The Cajuns only shot 5 of 24 from 3. Gant and Miller with 19 apiece. Stroman had 25 in that game. That's in the second game. Arkansas State had 35 from Ty Cockfield, 15 from Eaton, shot 8 of 27 from 3. Louisiana made 10 threes in that game. 10 of 22, 25 from Gant, 16 and 15 from Miller. That's kind of the double-double you're talking about.
I think that was a career high or a season high rebounding for him.
Mm-hmm. 17 points and 5 threes from P.J. Hardy. That shows what P.J. Hardy can do for your
some reason
season.
I have the most confidence in his shots. I never feel like he's
I do too.
Yeah, his shot was great.
I do too.
He's got a pretty shot.
He has an automatic trigger to his.
Yeah.
It's just it's quick. It's nice.
Yeah.
It's nice.
He's a wing shooter too.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So, I mean, just having that kind of shot, just giving it a chance to go in every time is something that the Cajuns need in that starting lineup. Cedric Russell and P.J. Hardy, if you could get maybe, what do you think, 3 threes each from them a game?
If you could get 5 from both of them,
That's tough.
but it's possible.
It is possible.
Because in the beginning,
they get enough looks.
That's what I'm saying. Marlon has definitely adjusted his game plan just a little bit with these two shooters, both starting at the same time, because you can tell in possessions, they'll definitely get 3-4 looks in the first 3 minutes of a game. And they're good shots too. They're not bad shots at all.
Yeah, they ease Jacqueline into the game. They really want to
They
get
do.
the two
They
shooters
do.
going first.
Yeah.
And then
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
It does.
Well, because
If they're
Gant's going to
taking-
get his. And you want to get other people with confidence.
If they're taking about 8 threes a game per piece, if that means they're confident. That means that they feel their shot, and if they hit 4 or 5, that's what you want. That's what you want to see from them. Now, getting them those open looks and getting them those chances is a little bit harder. But as y'all said, set them up early. I mean, that's the way to do it.
What makes Arkansas State such a tough opponent for Louisiana?
Really good
If they weren't
offense.
playing.
They got a good offense. They got solid players around the floor that just make shots. I know it sounds simple, but it's just how it is. They're a good team. If Arkansas State beats South Alabama on the road and comes to play the Cajuns, I'm nervous as a Cajuns fan. I probably feel a little more comfortable against South Alabama. They only met once. The Cajuns won the game, and it was tight back and forth throughout the game. But it's just something about Arkansas State. They've already beat us in the Cajun Dome. We took them to overtime in a tight game and snuck past them. But they're a good team. They're sneaky.
So Ty Cockfield is averaging 22 points per game. Michelle, if you're Louisiana defensively, do you let Ty Cockfield get his points and limit everyone else? Is that your game plan? Because we saw in that first game it was a loss, and Eden and Gillard had 24 and 20, while Cockfield had 18, and they lost, and the Cajuns lost that game. But you see, in the second game, Ty Cockfield went off for 35, and the Cajuns won that game. So what do you do?
I think, no disrespect to him because he had a great game, I think you just can't put too much emphasis on just him, though. Like, I'm not going to overreact over his performance. That's how I feel. Like, he had a great game, great overtime game. He made shots. But I don't even think if I'm Bob Marlin, I'm finna adjust my whole defensive scheme off of one game he had like that. I think you just kind of have to learn to contain him, maybe throw different bodies at him. Like, okay, we know he can get hot. Let's make sure we have a trigger on him at all times. But you definitely still have to pay way more attention, I think, to the supporting cast of it all than just Ty Cottonfield. Yeah,
well, and that's what kind of I'm getting at is I would pay more respect to the people around Ty Cockfield than Cockfield himself. So
no disrespect to him at all, but that's just the facts of it. Like,
but I mean,
he's not just the guy.
Yeah, just kind of from what I saw, I would probably pay more attention to the other people around him.
Yeah.
I mean, if Ty Cockfield's going to go for like 40 in the game, I mean, who cares if the other guys like go 7 of 30 from the field?
Right.
I mean, what do you do at that point?
Because I mean, it's just one player is not going to beat just one team. I don't think that in this conference. No, I don't think so. Like, it's going to take a complete effort around the board. So, like you said, he can go for 40, and if everyone else is going for like 7, it's like, okay, cool. You could live with that, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
What would you do, CJ?
Same thing. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know. Maybe there's a different defensive game plan there.
I agree as well. I think that, like, when it comes down to it, as I said, there's a lot of great players in the conference. I highlighted a couple of them. The best team is going to win this tournament. It's not going to be the best single player performance. It's going to carry his team throughout the tournament. It's going to be the best team performance overall. And the Cajuns, at their best, have one of the best teams in the conference. They can play right up there with Georgia State, right up there with
they have shooters.
I agree with that. It's just the consistency. That's all it's coming down for them.
They have shooters. They have rim protection. They have guard play. They have all of it.
You're saying a team that has the best player on the court at any given time will not win. It's about the best team.
I'm not saying that. Like, if you get
Tookie Brown is on Georgia Southern.
Right.
He won't be the reason Georgia Southern wins the tournament.
Well, he won't. Look, Georgia Southern, if he loses in the tournament, it's just going to be because
of the team play.
Yeah, of the team play. I think that, or at least they're outmatched as a team against, maybe a ULM who beat them, or a Texas Arlington who's been hot at the end of the season, or whoever comes out of the opposite side of the bracket, whether that be the Cajuns or Texas State or Georgia Southern, who all have good teams. You know what I mean? Georgia Southern has some of the best guard play in the conference. Their backcourt is outstanding. They're just really, really good. But if they can't get together as a team, I can see them falling out relatively early.
I do I understand the point. The best team's going to win this tournament. I do understand that.
It's not going to be the best. Not one individual is going to be able to carry his team to a conference championship.
Okay. South Alabama. The Cajuns only met them one time this season.
That was one of the most back and forth games of the season.
Is that the Cajun Dome?
Yep.
88-84 win for Louisiana. 28 from Gant. 18 from Hardy. 17 from Drekius Davis. 15 from Russell. Only 10 combined points for Stroman and Miller. I found that fascinating. 12 of 27 from 3. Let's talk about this, CJ. Davis and Hardy combining for 35. Then you have Stroman and Miller. I mean, this is again, harping back to the point, this team is capable of stepping up when others aren't stepping up. It's just, are we going to see that? It's so hard to tell.
Do it without a crystal ball because you try to make a prediction, but
we're about to get into predictions.
I don't know. I mean, it's possible that Joaquin Gant scores 30 and we lose by 10 because we just couldn't hit shots that night. You know, because they've done that before.
Basketball's weird.
You know, that's you know what? That's my answer. Basketball is weird.
Basketball is weird. Yeah.
Basketball is weird.
Yeah, there we go. That's the title.
It's just like the Suns like beating the Warriors. I was like, whoa! Like basketball is weird.
Basketball is weird. And then South Alabama, Trey Mitchell had 31 points. Josh Ajayi had 23, 21 from 3. They're two forwards, 6'6" and 6'7". Mitchell averaged 14 points per game, 7.5 rebounds, 3.6 assists. And then Ajayi with 16.2 points per game, 7.6 rebounds, and 1.4 assists. I don't know, if the Cajuns were to play South Alabama, what are the keys in that game, do you think, Michelle?
I think it's going to be defense. They have a lot of fast guards. I like their guard play a lot, and they're shooters too.
Ajayi's a good big man as well.
Yeah, so it would be defense. I don't even think offensively it would be for the Cajuns. It would be defense. Like, they just going to have to contain them.
So it sounds like, are we more worried about Louisiana's defense than their offense?
I am.
Okay.
When
by
their defense
far.
is on, they're the best team, one of the best teams in the conference.
Yeah, their defense.
You almost said it. You can say it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I'm hesitant to say it. You know what? I will, because they did beat Georgia State when their defense was on. When their defense is on, they're the best team in the conference. I'll say it. I mean, of course, they lost to Texas.
There you go. Yeah.
There you go. Michelle just gave you confidence.
I like that.
They lost to Texas State when their defense was on, but Texas State's kind of fallen off. They've lost, I think, 2 or 3 straight. If their defense is on, they're great. They're going to make a run in the tournament. However, they're going to be playing a lot of good offensive teams throughout this stretch. It's kind of funny that Texas State may be one of the worst offensive teams they match up with in this run, instead of like a South Alabama or Arkansas State. So I think that's kind of interesting. But we set the magic number at 70. If they hold teams to under 70 in this stretch, they're going to be golden.
Okay, we'll go around the table. Just give me the name. Who do you want to play for Louisiana? If you're Louisiana, who do you want to play?
Between South Alabama and
Arkansas State.
Well, you beat South Alabama and you beat Arkansas State, so you can beat either team. Arkansas State came to the Cajun Dome in the first game of the season, first conference game, and they smacked them. I think the Cajuns have really kind of grown since then. I think I'd personally rather play Arkansas State. There's more familiarity with them. You're just coming off a win at their place. They probably want a little bit of revenge factor, but I think there's less familiarity with, South Alabama. South Alabama, as LaShawn was saying, they have a lot of good players on that team. They got a good big man. They're not.
Who could possibly get Gann into foul trouble?
Exactly.
Which is not what you want.
Which is kind of nerve-wracking. So I think this is like 51-49. It's super tight. I think I'd rather play Arkansas State, though.
I'm with that. I'm picking Arkansas State.
It's tight.
Yeah, that South Alabama guard play. Just watching them, they're fast. Like it's something about them that just makes me a little nervous. Like they're fast. You can tell they're athletic. You can tell they got some triggers. They got shooters. They got the big man. They just have a pretty solid team that can really aggravate you. So I'm picking Arkansas State. That's what I want.
South Arkansas, Bama.
Oh my god! I was like, "What's CJ gonna do?" And then he comes with that. But you're split. You're split as well.
I'm not split. I don't have that. I mean, if I'm the Cajuns,
yeah.
I don't care who's in front of me. I just want to play well and beat them. That's the thing. If you start hoping to play this team or that team, I think you're focused on the wrong thing. As a fan,
Wait, okay. Well,
There's-
as an observer, who would you want the Cajuns to play?
they just beat Arkansas State. They literally just beat them.
Literally.
So, I mean, Arkansas State, based on that, and based on, I think that they're a little more focused on Cockfield, whereas South Alabama has a little more athleticism and they're more well-rounded.
Mhm.
So I'd take Arkansas State because not necessarily that you would funnel your defense to Cockfield. It's just there's one difference maker on that team, whereas at South Alabama there's multiple guys. So if as an observer, yeah,
versus a better player.
Right.
Right.
And then if that's the theme of this conference tournament is about team play, I think if you're an observer for Louisiana, you would want them to play Arkansas State. That was my pick too. I just, combining the factors of familiarity with, South Alabama being a more team-oriented program, that's where you go, Arkansas State. Now, congratulations to South Alabama on their win. That's just naturally what happens.
Big South Alabama.
Oh, spoiling
I
the.
sent that into the group chat.
Oh yeah, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, my bad.
I didn't look at my picks.
Hey, I read the group chat. All right, do we want to give out any conference tournament predictions? It could be Chiquita Gant averages 30. It could be,
Chiquita Gant is going to average a 28-point double-double.
I don't think that's the key though.
And I mean, he acts about Chiquita.
This is just prediction, or it could be anything like that. It could be deal with any of the players. It could be with the team.
I'm doing Cedric. I think he's going to average 23 points a game. 23.
They're making a run of Cedric Russell's average.
I'm going to do 23. Just because, I don't know.
That's high.
I'm going to give him... Here,
Don't
I'll
change.
give him some...
Don't change.
I want to give him some cushion.
No.
20 to 23 points.
Okay.
20 to 23.
It's a lot.
Even
It's
20,
a lot.
I think
Yeah,
they
it's
make a
a lot.
huge-
Yeah,
20 to
it's so good.
23.
Trajan Wesley averages 2 steals.
Okay.
2 steals.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's so boring.
That's a good one.
I want the Cajuns to average 90 points a game in this conference tournament. I want that.
All right, so you're asking what the number is if they make a deep run.
Sure.
Okay. The Cajuns average
Could be anything.
A deep run is probably 91.
55% shooting from 3.
All right. You know what?
Deep run.
This is gonna be like an exposed kind of deal, where I'm just gonna type up all of our predictions, and we'll revisit
If they
these.
shoot really well from 3, they make a deep run.
55% from
55% from 3.
3. CJ.
From the field.
28-point double-double from Chiquita Gant.
50% from 3.
2 steals a game for Trajan Wesley.
Wesley. 2
Yeah.
steals. I like the 2 steals thing because no one's thinking like that.
Yeah.
No one's thinking like that. Gant averages a 28-point double-double.
Yeah.
You think that's possible?
What do you think he shoots from the field?
Over 50.
Over 50? Okay.
A lot of dunks.
Yeah, because 28 points sounds like it's going to be a lot of value.
55% from the field, 50% from 3. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, we're defending. We're getting extra possessions.
Yeah, and put my 20 to 23 for Cedric Russell.
I like it.
I like that.
I like
I
that
like
one.
that one. I like that one.
I like that one.
I'll say Strom. Strom's not great though. He's not feeling well.
I give him
Okay.
7 assists.
As
7
a team,
assists
the
in the
Cajuns
game.
average 13 assists a game.
13?
13.
Oh man, am I writing all these down? Are you
Yeah,
going with that
started.
one? 13 assists per
13
game?
assists per game.
Okay, we'll get all the predictions
Well,
off.
okay, I'll put one. I'll give Stroman 8 assists a game. That's a lot. Sheesh.
He can do it.
He definitely can. I
You're
mean,
not talking about his points. You're just talking about.
not his points.
Yeah, there we go. 8 assists per game. Well, if they're going to get to 13 assists per game, you're going to need, a good amount.
Give me Justin Miller averaging a double-double as well.
Oh my god. This sounds like they're just going to win.
Of course.
All right.
This is the scenario.
All right, fine. Louisiana
Right?
gets
That's what we're doing?
bounced
Pretty much.
in the first game.
What?
Yeah, there we go. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You just had
There's
to
too
put-
much optimism here. There's
Wow.
too much optimism.
That's wild.
Can I do something for
We're going to sound too biased.
Hardy and Russell? 9 threes a game.
I
We're
like
going off the
it.
rails.
I like
We're
it.
going off the
I said
rails.
8,
Listen,
so I
These
said
are the
5.
scenarios for the Cajuns to go far.
No, I mean combined 9, not 9 each.
Aw.
No.
Oh, Russell and Hardy?
Yeah.
So combine 8 threes. Or
Combine
9 threes. Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
That's the
I mean,
scenario
shit,
for them to go
18?
far.
What,
Justin Miller
20?
averages a double-double.
Yeah.
They shoot really well from the field, and they get those 13 assists per game. And we already established the 70 points. If they keep teams under 70, that's
Under 70. Oh, yeah. Put that there. That too.
All right, we'll put this as a group prediction. Under 70 is so tough.
They can do it.
But I guess, tournament play might be different from regular season play, so you could see the game slowing down and, it becoming more of a grind to get points. So
These predictions are working against each other because if the game slows down.
yeah, there you go. I don't think
somebody
you're
ain't gonna
getting 20 or 23.
Yeah.
That's if the game slows down.
Mhm.
That's if the game. We're just like shooting a bunch of predictions out there and being like hoping one land. Or I don't know what's happening.
That's right.
Louisiana allows under 70 a game?
Yes, that's key.
That's key. Okay. That's not a prediction. It's just like, hey, if they do this. All right, and then I have Louisiana gets bounced in the first game. That's my prediction.
You can't just speed past that like you.
Right?
Yeah, I'm just going to speed past that one.
So
All right.
they lose to Arkansas State?
Yeah.
Do you have anything else for that? Like, why did they lose to Arkansas State?
I think they get other contributions. I think it's going to be more like the first game than it would be the second game.
What do they shoot? What do the Cajuns shoot in this game?
In that game?
Like 38.
Like 5
It would
and
be. I was
25
thinking
from three.
it would probably be in the low 3. You wouldn't get to 10 threes.
Okay.
You would get to about 6.
6 of like 30.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just it's slow
I mean,
down.
they're just chucking them at that point. 6
Hey,
of 30?
Maybe. Hey, maybe this Cajun team likes to shoot threes.
Yeah, especially when they get behind.
There we go.
That's so true.
There we go.
Justin
All right.
Miller starts shooting threes.
Justin Miller, when he starts shooting,
Hey, that's when you
it's
know,
bad.
like, dang. They're
We're
desperate
in
right now.
trouble.
All right, we're closing in on an hour on this podcast, and CJ, it's come time for the food discussion.
Okay, so we're on an hour, so I'm gonna speed this up. But
No, it's okay. We're at 52 minutes.
okay, all right.
Take your time.
Take your time.
Listen, Italian food is the best food on the planet.
Wow.
I mean,
This
that's
is
not that
They
hot,
have
right?
no, it's not a hot take. I want to have this discussion.
Mm.
First of all, they have amazing pastas
Yes.
and pizza
Yes.
and just all kinds of great dishes,
Okay.
calzones, etc. I want to know from y'all, which culture has the best food? You can't say Cajun.
I think
I
it's
love
Italian.
Chinese. I love Chinese
Okay.
food.
Chinese is a great
I,
answer too. That's my
I
top 3.
love Chinese food.
Yeah, I think if it's not Chinese for me, I think it's Italian. Italian's got.
I'm trying to think of the cultures that like their food that I eat the most.
Mhm.
So it would be Mexican, it would be
Yeah,
Italian,
same.
and it would be Chinese. I think
those are my top
those
3.
are the ones I eat the
That's
most.
my top 3 as well.
So
Nobody's gonna be a homer. Nobody's gonna say American. I mean, it's a mosaic. It's a combination of a lot.
it is.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, a lot of it's just Americanized of other
Right,
cultures.
exactly.
So it's
Right.
hard to see. It's hard to really be like, oh, I like American food, and
Okay.
you're saying like you like chilies or something. I don't know how to.
I like
do that.
TGIF.
Yeah. So what's interesting? Paige says Italian food. So it's like I guess this
Yeah,
is the first time I've heard it.
Italian is like I can't get enough.
Gelato counts, right?
Yeah.
So like, gelato's great.
Yeah, you get your dessert as well.
You get dessert as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, you might be right on that one.
I think I'm sticking with
Because I eat a lot of pizza and pasta and stuff like that. So, all right, Italian.
Italian.
The show goes Chinese.
Yeah, I love Chinese.
Chinese food is delicious.
I don't know. Well, do you really consider hibachi as Chinese? Because some people are like, that's
I thought it was
Japanese.
Japanese. Yeah.
See, yeah, but to me, not to disrespect their cultures because they are this different, entities.
Whatever.
But I love them both. But maybe I'm more of a Japanese person then because I love hibachi.
Okay.
Like hibachi grill, all of that. That's
Okay.
But I love noodles. I love lo mein. Man, this is hard. I love all of it.
All of it.
Yeah.
All of it.
Chinese, Japanese, both of them.
Yeah, there you go. All right, you can combine.
Asian culture.
Yeah. Like that.
You like
CJ
Asian
says-
culture?
All right, so since we can combine, CJ says Tex-Mex.
Tex-Mex is your.
Yeah.
Ugh.
No, he
Okay.
just said Italian. Of course, it's Italian.
I'm about to say.
Tex-Mex is just funny to me because I think of like cheap restaurants or something. I don't know. That's what I think of. CJ, that's a great take, man.
It's not a great take. It's,
Okay.
it's a great discussion.
You know what that would be on Twitter?
What?
An unpopular opinion. That's what that would be.
Dude,
Unpopular
can I
opinion.
make
food
a public
edition?
service announcement?
Yeah.
Can we have our last unpopular opinion thread on this day? I know it's not going to happen, but please, because
If you had to go,
I've seen at least like
unpopular-
100 of them. I'm tired now.
If you had to go unpopular opinion
Oh.
food edition, what would be a true unpopular opinion food
Unpopular
edition?
opinion?
Yeah, a true unpopular opinion. True.
Unpopular.
As Charlie watches the
ACC tournament.
ACC tournament.
Get my picks in.
Unpopular. I don't want to say
I-
popular stuff like
I did bring
coleslaw
this
is
on, yeah.
disgusting. You know,
I did spring this one.
but
You want to revisit that one next week?
we can revisit it next week. We can leave people in suspense.
Yeah, there we go. We'll be back with our unpopular opinion food edition next week. That'll be that. Anything else as we wrap up?
We'll talk about the tournament next week, huh?
Yes.
So.
We'll cover all of it. That'll do it for this episode of the Vermilion Sports Podcast. You can pick up the Vermilion newspaper around the UL campus. New editions come out every Wednesday. You can also check out other stories and news on thevermilion.com. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and subscribe to our Vermilion Sports YouTube channel for more videos, highlight videos, the podcast, all that. That is all for this episode of the Vermilion Sports Podcast. As always, thank you for listening.